Grocery store thefts on the rise across the country. This Freshco here in downtown Toronto recently launched a pilot program that has some employees wearing body cameras over in British Columbia out west. Some grocers there have even put their meat counter under lock and key as grocery thefts now climb into the billions annually. Carts and bags full of stolen groceries.
It's a national issue. It's taking place right across the country.
A rise in five-finger discounts has Canadian grocery stores on high alert, using everything from body cameras on some staff to an increased number of security cams lining stores. Some grocers have even taken to placing their meat counter under lock and key.
Organized crime doesn't miss these opportunities.
Industry sources tell CTV News that thefts are being driven by a mix of economic pressure and increasingly organized retail crime. Grocery stores are reporting coordinated repeat thefts tied to criminal networks. The Retail Council of Canada has called retail crime a national crisis, with losses now approaching $10 billion annually across the grocery sector and growing. The RCMP in Richmond, BC say supermarket theft has doubled so far this year.
We have analysts, and when they see a spike like this, we have meetings every week.
In January, Ottawa police conducted Project Pantry at this downtown grocery store. Undercover officers charged a dozen people with 78 charges, with some thefts appearing to be coordinated.
Going to a car right away and giving that product to whoever's in the car in exchange for something.
Some self-checkout counters inside grocery stores are also being exploited.
Walmart in the States is pulling them out of a lot of their stores as we speak.
Just last August in Windsor, Ontario, more than $220,000 worth of beef was stolen from this parked tractor trailer. The large-scale heist, another example of a lucrative crime on the rise. There are differing opinions as to where some of the items like black market beef are ending up, though authorities believe that restaurants struggling to turn a profit are likely purchasing some of the stolen goods.
Shalom. I'd like to say our praises due unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honor to apostles of great millstone, of whom I learned this truth. Peace and blessings to the elect out there. My name is Conwalk from GMS Toronto doing this lesson. And it's going to be in regards to the thefts that's happening all throughout these grocery stores, which is mainly Esau. These Edomites are down bad, man. All right. They're financially struggling, right? They used up their lines of credit. They used up their credit cards, right? And, basically Esau, the average so-called middle-class Edomite, and poor Edomite is catching hell, right? And this would be the curse that would befall our enemies. I will get it. Let me get it. This is a big curse, man. Right? So let's get Deuteronomy. 1 second. In the Deuteronomy, I believe 30. And I start at 7. Deuteronomy 30 and 7. For the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Right? Because how did Esau get his wealth? How did he acquire this land known as North America? Right? America, Canada. Right? How did they obtain this land? Was through blood, right? By killing the so-called Native Americans, which is known as the tribe of Gad, Reuben, and Issachar, right? Slaughtering, these a lot of tribes all throughout America and Canada, right? Millions of our people were destroyed through germ warfare, through smallpox, through the Gatling gun, right? That was Esau's final the campaign and destroying a lot of the different tribes, right? And because there are many tribes all throughout America and Canada. Um, if you watch the documentary by the guy that played bodyguard, Kevin Costner, I believe his name is, whatever his name. But basically, he had a good documentary about um, the tribe that were in America, and I believe it's like a 3 or 4 hour documentary. Very good. I don't know if it's still on YouTube. I think it still is, but I used to have the DVD. I might have it in my collection. That's a very good documentary to watch, because they know, man, who the tribes are, right? The 10 tribes were here in the Americas, right? Second Esdras 13 and 40, right? The 10 tribes, they came after the Assyrian captivity, because they were brought into the Assyrian captivity, right? Because let me get it. Second Esdras 13 verse 40. This is just going in the spirit. So Second Esdras 13 and 40. These are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanazar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they entered into another land. So basically, the 10 tribes, they were taken prisoners because our people were nothing but pagan worshippers, idolaters, right? Doing all kinds of sacrifices, drinking blood, doing all kinds of like all kinds of revelry, all kind of like revelry, right? Orgies and child sacrifice and all these stuff, man. So the Lord got fed up, and basically the Assyrians, they led their ass into captivity into the land of Assyria, and they served under the Assyrians for a certain amount of time, and then when the Assyrian Empire eventually fell, right? The 10 tribes, they came on a boat, right? And they came over to the Americas, but they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go further into a further country where never mankind dwelt, right? Because when you read about like King David and also King Solomon, they had King Tyree of Harem Abif, right? That he was a Phoenician king, right? And they were Phoenician, and they were merchants and Phoenicians, right? And they were and they would come over to the New World, right, to get certain supplies and resources and go back to the land, right? So called the land of Israel, right? So they knew that the Phoenicians would go back and forth into the New World, because that's why when you look at like let's read it. It says that they might keep their statues which they never kept in their own land. So they try to start afresh, right? And they would come over into the New World, which is known as South America, Central America, and America, Canada, right? And it was known as Arsarif, which means new land, right? That's why if you watch the Vikings, they show you that too, right? That the Vikings were like the Danes mixed with Judah and the house of Judah, and they would come, and like they came to Canada, they came to Newfoundland. That's why there was a major Viking settlement in Newfoundland. I believe it was maybe about 900 something AD. That they might that they might there keep their statues which they never kept in their own land, and they entered to the Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river. So Euphrates, so they went through the river, right, and they eventually would come, right, like from the Euphrates, and then when you look at the map, at the Euphrates map, right, they came, through the Euphrates River, and then they would come through like the horns of like South Africa, eventually all the way down the coast of Africa on the east, going to the south, and then they would go through like the rough waters, right? Because it's a heavy tide, right? And basically, the Most High made the tide, pass through, and the 10 tribes came, to the New World. Some of them came to like Brazil. That's where the Asherites are, which means happy. And then Argentina, Bolivia, because it wasn't called those lands back then, but basically, that they were over there, and then they scattered and they went up into Central America, and then America, then Canada, right? That they might keep that they might show signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Asher, which means new land. Then dwelt there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come. And basically that's when the Judah, Benjamin eventually came, right? Because a lot of our people were traders, and the traders and explorers, and a lot of our people came to America and Canada, right, and were living with the 10 tribes, right, and then eventually our people, through mixing and then trading through the whole transatlantic slave trade, a lot of the bulk of our people, came from Scotland, England, right, and like the West Africa, through the transatlantic slave trade, right, and our people were a lot of people were were prisoners of war, right? They didn't know what was going on, right? Bro, 1 second. So these are the 10 tribes, man, and these are like the relics of the 10 tribes being led away by the Assyrians, being led away captive, right? You see, they had braid, beard, there's a lot of books, Let's see what this says. The AR overview. Let's see what this says. It says 10 tribes Assyrian captivity. Assyrian captivity refers to the historical period around 722 BC era, when the new Assyrian Empire conquered the northern kingdom of Israel and forcibly departed its population, right? So our people were led prisoners out of the Holy Land, man, and brought to Assyria, right? Because remember, when when King Solomon, when he was like when he went off, the Lord he sent the prophet like Nathan, right? And he said that your kingdom is going to be divided. Like he said that he he brought like a cloth, right? And he said that your kingdom is going to be divided, right? And and basically 10 the 10 tribes are going to be is going to be out of um when Solomon dies, his kingdom is going to be split, right? So that's why you have the southern tribe, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, right? And then after when Solomon died, like that's when the whole split came, when um Rehoboam and Jeroboam, right? One sec, I believe Jeroboam. One moment. Yeah, it says Rehoboam and Jeroboam are central figures in biblical history who led the fracture of the United Kingdom of Israel into two separate nations following the death of King Solomon. Right, and this will happen because King Solomon, in his age and his wealth, he went off, right? And basically the Lord had mercy on him, right? But he went off, he started worshiping the gods of these of his woman, and building temples to his woman, his many women and concubines, right? And that's why the Lord he split the kingdom, right? So King Rehoboam, king of the south of Judah, King Rehoboam, king of the south of Judah, right? Yeah, so that's Rehoboam, the son of King Solomon and the grandson of King David, right? You could do your own research, but um but going back to this point, man, Deuteronomy 30 and 7, right? And the Lord thy power will put all the curse upon thy enemy, and on them that hate thee, which persecute thee. So the curses now, right, is being lifted, is being transferred, is being lifted up from off of us and going on our enemies, right? Because we've been catching hell. We know how it is to catch hell. We've been in this captivity for over, you know, let's say, for a long time, right? From you say over 500 years with the whole Renaissance, and the Black Plague, the Renaissance, and the rebirth. Because Renaissance just means rebirth, and that's how this man's empire was established. Man, was on the blood of our ancestors. So Numbers 35 and 33. So you shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. Right? So yeah, the land not gonna be cleansed because you came on our people's land. You took our people's land, right? Like you took the land of Israel, Palestine and all these stuff, with their whole what do you call it? Balfour Declaration, which was 1948, where I don't know the name it's one of the Rothschilds, right? That basically established that whole state. That whole state of Israel was established by the Rothschild family, man. Right? And you guys are fighting for a land that doesn't belong to you damn Arab. It doesn't belong to you damn Amalekite, you small hats. It doesn't belong to you. It really belongs to the children of Israel, right? And you're fighting for a land that is not even yours, man, right? It said that when the Lord comes, he said that there's gonna be no violence, no more violence, right? Let me put no more violence. Yep, Isaiah 60:8. Violence shall no more be heard in the land, thy land, and wasting or destruction within thy borders. Thou shalt call thy wall salvation, and thy gates praise. And this one, Yahushai, and King David, the 12, the 144,000, the 1/3, you know, which I hope to be if I continue and if it's ordained, because the elect is going to see the Holy Land, all right, and this place known as Israel, the state of Israel, and that whole fertile crescent, right, the valley of Yehoshaphat, Armageddon, which means mountain of troops. There's going to be great war in that land, and there's going to be nuclear war, right? And America is going to be affected because America is going to be on fire, right? It's going to be known as the Lake of Fire, right? And it's going to be a great destruction, right? It's only going to take the Lord 1 hour, all right? But I was going to get this one, Second Esdras. Second Esdras 13. Sorry, Second Esdras 16. Uh, 16 verse 17. I'm doomed, I'm doomed. Who will rescue me in those days? So let me read 16:14. He have already sent out his disaster toward the earth, and they will not miss their target. So this is going to be when the ICBM intercontinental ballistic missiles will be shot, from their targets, to certain parts of the world through America. America is going to get the greatest destruction, right? And certain parts of the other parts of the world, right? The land of the so-called the Holy Land, right? It's gonna be flattened through nuclear war. The fire has been lit, and it cannot be put out until it burns up the foundation on the earth. The disasters are on their way toward the earth, like an arrow shot by a strong archer. They cannot be turned back. I am doomed, I'm doomed. Who will rescue me in those days? Right? And this is what's going to happen, because this was a vision that that prophet Esdras, when he woke up out that vision, he was like, what the fuck's going on? He was doomed. He was like, because he's seen that great destruction, man. And and that was over almost over 2,000 years ago, man. Well over 2,000 years ago, man. Probably like 2,500 or years ago or so. No, I'm doomed. Who will rescue me in those days? Right? So we know that, the prophet Esdras, he's in one of the camps, who's pushing the word. He's a prophet. Right? It says the spirit of the prophet are subject to the prophet. So if you are a prophet in your past life, you will be a prophet in this life. Troubles will come. Many people will groan. Famines will come, and many will die. Right. So right now they're saying ticks. What do you call it? I just seen another thing too. It says scientists are warning Canadians to get ready for the U.S. tick invasion this year. Right. So so all of these are plagues. And some of these stuff is manipulated by people like Bill Gates, the Bill Gates Foundation, where they're trying to like destroy meat. Sorry, they're trying to destroy cattle, by infecting them with all these different experiments, and it's going in our damn food chain, man. That's why the Lord said, if it wasn't for the elect's sake, no flesh is going to be saved, because because this man is a madman. The long star stick can carry a pathogen that can leave a bitten person who with a severe allergic to meat. Right. So nowadays, it's like, fuck, man. We're gonna eat poison and live, man, because because they don't want you to even to buy meat. It's gonna you know it's going to be it's not gonna be common anymore. And like that's why they're everything was going on, like the inflation, the everything is going high, you know, for meat and all these stuff, right? So they want you to basically eat what I believe Carl Schwab, like the guy in the world, the world. No, he's a part of the World Health Organization. Doctor Carl Schwab said that, oh, you're gonna eat bugs and live, or some shit like that. You know, like this is like these are these people's plans, man. They want to have this 2030 agenda. They want to get rid of gas powered cars. They want all the cars to be electric, which that's not going to work, right? Like you're trying to establish this whole new world order, have this whole 15-minute city, have everybody identified with the RFID chip in their flesh. They want to be as gods, man. But the Lord is going to put a great monkey wrench in their plans. Canadians need to get ready for a slower and steady invasion for south of the border across, according to scientists. The three come from different variants of ticks carrying dangerous pathogens that are looking to establish themselves in Canada. So that's why they're now they're talking about clone meat, right? They're saying that the food and Drug Administration in Canada, that they're allowing clone meat like to be sold into grocery stores. That's why we need Yahweh Shai, man, to come, man, because we don't know what the hell we're eating, man. According to the government of Canada, there are already more than 40 different types of ticks in Canada. The most well known is the black-legged tick, or bear tick, which carries the bacteria that cause Lyme disease. So all these stuff, right? So if you eat these stuff, right, because it's gonna go in the food chain, right? And if you eat these things, it's gonna make you die. It's gonna it's gonna cause great it's gonna cause you a great plagues, man. It has a common symptoms of fever, fatigue, and bull eyes rash. Right? So we gotta pray, man, and because we don't know what the hell we're eating. I will share this link in the description, right? Because one of the brothers he put in the group chat. Brother Dawad, he brought about this the tick invasion, right? That's coming that's in Canada right now, man. Right, so a lot of things is going on, man. Let me continue with this. I will share that link in the description. It says, troubles will come and many will groan. Famines will come and many will die. So this is in the Second Ezra 16. This is in the GNT, the Good News Translation. Sometimes they have good like like reference points. Some of these different chapters and stuff, it goes more in depth than the King James, and sometimes the King James is on point too, right? So it says, troubles will come, many people will groan, famines will come, and many will die. Wars will come, and the world powers will tremble. So this is what it's all leading up to. This whole Strait of Hormuz, right? This is leading up to the grand finale, man, of the World War III, right? A full blown war, and the angels, Yahweh, Michael, and the archangels, and his and the angel that's gonna come is gonna be thousands of saints that's gonna come, and that's going to that's gonna come and deliver the elect, and that's going to destroy this place, huh? All right, there's gonna be a great population control, right? I believe the earth has over 800 billion, right? So the Lord's going to he's going to all the billion, how much people who live on earth right now, a lot of people is gonna die either through nuclear war or through famine. They're going to die through because the water is going to be contaminated, right? The nuclear radiation, so it's going to cause billions of people to die. Disaster will come and everyone will be terrified. What will people do when these disasters come? Right, so there's going to be a lot of casualties that's going to die through this famine, these epidemics, right? Like this whole what do you call this now one? The hentai virus and all the different virus, man. Troubles and sufferings are sent to punish and correct people. But in spite of all this, they will not turn away from their sins. They soon forget their punishment. Right? That's what's happening, man. So even after this, these great disasters, right? Where there's gonna be many casualties that are gonna die through this whole nuclear war and stuff. A lot of these elites are gonna be in these deep underground military bases, right? And they're still gonna be proud, and that's why, when Yahweh when he gives his elect that green light, right? The fishers are gonna become hunters. The time has come when food will be so cheap that people will think a time of peace and plenty has arrived. But then disaster will spring up everywhere, wars, famine, and great confusion, right? So right now there's no more sales, right? Because this whole war and this whole Strait of Hormuz is big because a lot of things that we get, right, the whole what do you call it, like the fertilizer, a lot of the oil, a lot of things that we get here in the West, it comes from the so-called Middle East, man. Right? So we're not going to get a lot of different supplies. We're not going to get a lot of like plastic things and all these stuff because all these stuff is made up of petroleum, which is, you know, oil and all these different stuff. Many people on earth will starve to death. Those who escape starvation will be killed in war. So there are going to be many casualties. There's going to be stink everywhere. Their corpse will be thrown out like garbage, and there will be no one left to comfort the living. The earth will be deserted and the city demolished. So this is what's going to happen, man. Through this nuclear war, these race wars, right? Because remember, race war is coming, man. People are going to be fighting, for their food. A lot of things going to happen, man. There will be no one left to plow the land and plant it. Right? Trees will bear their fruit, but there will be no one left to pick it. Grapes will be ripened, but there will be no one left to make wine. There will be desolation everywhere. So that's what's going to happen, man. Civil war, famine, death, nuclear war. Right? That's what's gonna happen, man. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope this video was edifying and exhorted, to you brothers and sisters out there. So with that, let us say our praise is due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Mekakwadash. Double honors past our great milestone. Peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom.